Hello, and welcome to Harmonious World. This week I'm joined by Robin Spielberg, who is an incredible pianist. Robin's new album is called Reinventions, and in this album she reimagines and retools classical masterpieces, and it's absolutely amazing. If you can listen to it, you'll really enjoy it. Robin improvises on piano pieces from centuries ago, which is really quite extraordinary. Things like the Blue Danube Waltz, Arthur Rubinstein, the melody in F reinvented. There's some fantastic tracks on this album. Reinventions is available as a deluxe vinyl limited edition, and they're signed and numbered and on CD and streaming as well. So I hope you enjoy our conversation. Hey, it's good to see you.
Good to see you. Where are you?
So I'm in Hertfordshire, about 30 miles north of London.
Oh, and how's the weather there?
It's been raining all day. It's grey and cold.
Oh my.
Where are you?
I'm in Pennsylvania, so I'm on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But pretty far south in Pennsylvania, so kind of near the Maryland border.
Well, welcome to my podcast.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. The whole point of it's called Harmonious World, and the reason it's called that is because I heard a quote from Quincy Jones where he said, "What a harmonious world it would be if we all shared the things that we're good at." So that's why I'm talking to you, because I want to talk to you about this reinventions, your reimagining of all these great piano pieces.
Yes.
So tell me about you and about how this project came about.
Okay, well, reel me in if I go on too long. Because I have been doing this career for quite some time. Been playing the piano since I'm a little girl. This is my 20th album, and I am best known in, I guess, career-wise, I'm best known for creating concerts combined with storytelling and concert films. I have films that show on a beautiful background, like a movie theater. You know, when I'm playing, to give the audiences an idea what was in my mind's eye when I composed a piece. So last July, I was in China, a year and a half ago, performing for thousands of people with these beautiful films. And I have a number of original piano solo releases that have done very well, some with ensemble, some holiday recordings. I grew up outside New York City, so I have pop recordings and Broadway recordings, all of that. But during this pandemic, so in March, this is when this idea started to germinate. In March, we obviously we couldn't do any more concerts. It was disappointing for everyone, but I was launching a new album. And the album was called Love Story. It was the first one I pressed in vinyl. And it's popular music from Adele to Billy Joel and, all kinds of popular artists that I arrange the music. So I've been reimagining music for a long time. And after the first concert for the tour, the pandemic hit. So I performed March 7th was my last show. And we had a beautiful 20-city tour set up. And like all the other artists, I just, I went home. And after a bit, I started to, I guess people started finding what they needed to do for their own comfort. Some people started yoga and meditation, workout programs, or crafting or hobbies. My needlepoint store said they were super busy. People started embroidering again. And for me, I returned to the musical comfort food that I have known for decades. And I reached into it, and I don't remember the last time I played, Beethoven and Bach and Brahms and Chopin. I just haven't been doing that because I've been writing my own work and I've been arranging other people's work. And I never really was playing just now for myself. I wasn't practicing for a tour or practicing for an album. I was trying to do that. My husband, who's also in the music business, he's an entertainment agent. He started taking some guitar lessons online. He was doing, played guitar in his youth and took lessons for a very long time. And that was giving him some comfort. So that's what I was doing. And as I was playing them, I started to, what some of my fans call Robinizing the work, the Robinization of the work. I started to fiddle around a little bit, with it. It was at once really fun and creative and freeing. And at the same time, when my husband suggested I actually make a recording, it was very scary.
Sure.
Because, well, obvious reasons. You don't touch works of the masters. That's just always been considered very taboo.
Yes, exactly. And my background is jazz, and obviously we're used to, you pay homage to something, but you can do with it what you like. Whereas with classical music, there tends to be this, well, that's what the note is, so that's how you play, that's what you play there and then. So this is very different.
Well, I have to say, our daughter, who's in college and majoring in music, she was very integral in this process, because she said, she reminded me that it's not really true in our history. In other words, the masters back in the day, they loved nothing more than a good piano parlor soiree where they would improvise on one another's work. And they made games of it. I mean, Bach was known for his inventions, and he would sit and play something, and they would have contests to see who had the best reimagining of a theme, of a canon, of various things, of an etude, and they would sit down and improvise. And Mozart was known for never playing the same thing twice the same way. I'm very much like that. I improvise. I can just have a chord chart and just pretty much play anything. I could play it straight from music. I could pick it up by ear. I have perfect pitch. So I have these skill sets, and I've played for years in piano bars and hotel lobbies because of that skill set. Yet something happened. I was having conversations with my fellow musicians, and something happened apparently in the 1960s where academics decided that this is how Schirmer's publishing published this music, and that is it. And if you deviate at all, you're bad. I even have a little video on my website that I link to about talking about this album, of a pretty traumatic experience I had when I was a student, and that was my piano teacher slapped my hand. I was his protege, and he came to our house. I had 4 different teachers. This was the 3rd. He was very classical, very traditional. And I remember we were working on a Chopin waltz, and he excused himself to use the restroom. And when he came back, he said, "What were you just playing?" I said, "Oh, I was kind of fiddling around with the waltz. I was Robinizing it." And he kind of had a smirk on his face. I thought he was going to compliment me. I really did. And he reached over and he slapped my hand. And he said, "We don't do that. You can do that with your Broadway show tunes. You can do that with your Henry Mancini Moon River, but you don't touch Chopin. There is nothing to be improved upon." It was kind of this, who do you think you are? And I remember my holding back tears. I remember how hot and how red my face must have been because it was so hot. I don't remember the rest of the lesson. I was just shocked because I revered him. I looked up to him, and I did something really bad, and I just didn't know. And I can't believe I've carried that for so long. And here I was playing for my own pleasure, and I was playing the Schumann and the Schubert, and my husband said, "These are beautiful. These are arrangements that people would just love." You hear all the time in movies and films, different arrangements of this music, but for some reason, a pianist has not done it. A classical pianist hasn't touched it. We hear arrangements of all these pieces, but not piano, like actually changing Sonata Pathétique second movement, actually making a variation. And I thought, here we are in the pandemic. Why the heck not? People are buying sheet music like crazy. That's something I didn't expect in the pandemic. People started to return to the things that comforted them, like we said, whether it was needlework or music or yoga or meditation or taking walks in the woods. And people began to really buy a lot of sheet music for my website because my tunes are that classical crossover place. When I joined the Steinway artist roster, I remember telling, the head people there, I don't think I belong in this room, with Long Long, like I don't belong here. And they said, you absolutely belong here. You are the bridge. You bridge the classical world with what's new and modern, and you do it in a very respectful way. You take the structure of classical music, and not to be insulting, Robin, but your music is accessible. I love that I use that word. It's not that difficult. It's accessible. Intermediate piano players can play it and sound really good.
Right.
Look, the London Symphony is not going to call me anytime soon if their concerto soloist is out of commission. I'm not the person for that. And I never pretended to be the person for that. But I am the person who can really honor the classical structure, create something very melodic and accessible, and bridge those worlds.
It's incredible. And when I heard this, I was blown away by it. I'd never heard your way of playing before, and there was something inside me that was quite shocked, because as I studied piano for a while when I was at university and as a child, and it was literally you were either a classical musician and you played the notes that were written on the sheet music in front of you and you did not deviate a single note from that, or you were a jazz musician and you could do whatever you liked, but you couldn't
right.
be, there was no kind of playing between the two, really.
I think you nailed it, because there was no bridge.
No.
You had to choose one or the other. So I went on the other side, and I wasn't quite the jazz musician, but if someone said, "Hey, can you play Smoke Gets in Your Eyes?" I'm like, "Sure." I know I could just figure it out. I'll never play it the same way twice. I'm just gonna go with it. And in this pandemic, I've been doing live streaming from my Facebook page to kind of keep my own sanity and structure going. It's kind of a nod to those piano bar days, because what I'll do is that I pick a theme every Friday night, and I'll do like tonight's theme is Friday. Tonight's theme is going to be thinking, thinking, thinking. So all songs that have the word thinking or think in the title or lyric. Right? So everything from If I Only Had a Brain from The Wizard of Oz to Can You Read My Mind from the Superman movie to If You Could Read My Mind, the Gordon Lightfoot song. And I'll do this, and I've now done 70 live streams, none of them the same.
Wow.
90-minute sets, all different, usually no music. And I put these together over the week. Some of the pieces are already under my fingers. I know them. Some I'd have to look up and learn and arrange and memorize during the week, which gives me something great to do.
Yeah.
And then Saturday night, I do a stream that's no talking, not piano bar, and just an hour of relaxing solo piano music that people can listen to. It's live music. They can have a glass of wine. They can clean their house. They can have dinner, whatever they want to do. And just, I'm on. It's free.
That's fantastic. I think this, well, I hope that we get back to the point where people will pay for music and they will come out to concerts. I mean, it feels to me like we're all desperate to come out to music again.
Well, I've been telling my music colleagues to really try. I'm an optimist at heart. You've got to hang in there. History does repeat itself. What happened after 1918? We had the Roaring 20s.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to have the Roaring 20s. I really do. It's just not today. So for me, I feel like, I've always been taught that time is the most valuable thing we have. Time in our health. You can't get back time.
No.
You have to maximize it and do the best you can with what you have. And so I think this is a great time for people to get their master's degree, get their college degrees, get their GEDs, get educated. For me, it's a great time to practice, compose, arrange. I am working on a lot of content because I want to be ready. When there's Roaring 20s are there, I want to be ready. So in the pandemic, I actually made 2 albums. I just didn't release the second yet. And I'm working on the third. So I've just been probably busier than I have was before when I was traveling around and flying everywhere. I did this to myself. No one believed me. No one begged me to have a make-believe pretend piano show on the weekends. And no one was begging for me to rearrange Beethoven classics. I gave myself the work.
That's so amazing. And I think it's so generous. So many musicians like you have done these live streams that help connect with the audience, and it's not the same as being in a concert hall or a venue, but it's pretty close. And it's the
Well, I have to say, after doing it, I'm not tech savvy in that way, because look, the piano is uses 300-year-old technology, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to plug it in. I didn't even own an XLR cord. I didn't even know what one was. And so we started just at the beginning using our iPhones. My husband started to learn the technology and go on YouTube and learn how to plug things in. Now we have like these 2 camera shoots and we show some video, and it's gotten really nice. We have lighting, and every week we seem to improve a little more. As I said, we've done 70 of them, so we're learning too. And when I thought about, well, I've done 30, 35, I can stop this now, I received an email from someone who told me that they felt that I was literally holding their hand through the pandemic.
Wow.
And every Friday night, she'd have a glass of wine with her husband by the fire, and they put on Robin Spielberg. Like, that's what they did Friday at 9:00. Please don't stop. So I started a crowdfunding site on Patreon. I joined that platform, just saying, look, I don't need you to pay me for what I'm doing. It's free, but I need the equipment. I need a microphone. I need an XLR cord. I need to be able to pay for broadband internet that I don't have here. And the response was amazing. People started signing up for as little as $5 or $10 a month, and it adds up. And we went on eBay. We bought a lot of things secondhand, and started setting up. And that's really how this happened. It happened because of listeners who were really grateful. We also figured out how to do pre-recorded streams, and I donated a number of those to nursing homes. Some of them have programs, they call it like Zoom to your room, where they have closed caption, they have TVs in the residents' rooms.
Right.
And since they can't gather, they can watch different programming on their own channels. So I did a few holiday programs, about 30 minutes to an hour long, that are circulating in different nursing homes. So we've done a number of those as well. And also some of the venues are really hurting, the privately owned small venues, and they've been doing fundraisers. So I've done a few for them. Look, I'm going to play the piano anyway. I'm playing the piano 3, 4, 5 hours a day anyway. I might as well dress up, record, and send it to someone who could use it.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it.
That is amazing. Talk to me about how you chose the tracks.
Oh, I had so many more.
Well, that's what I mean.
It's mostly how did I choose what not to put on it? Well, there were 2 that I got a little stuck on. I basically reimagined everything, but at the end of the day, when we were listening back, I said, I can't really put my Bach reimagining on this record, because the original is so perfect and so balanced. There's nothing really I could add. So I just played it. And also that first movement of Moonlight Sonata, I wasn't that pleased with how I rearranged it. I didn't think there was anything to do there either. So those 2 are pure. They're my interpretation, but I didn't change any notes. Everything else, it was really easy. I started with the Mozart because, look, he wrote it when he was a child.
Yeah.
It's literally child's play.
Yeah.
He didn't really take it seriously. No one else should. Scholars shouldn't either. He probably would have been thrilled with the variations. And I had many of them. So I would basically just go and improvise on all of the pieces, and then we just picked what the best improvisations were. It was especially fun to revisit something like Skater's Waltz. I didn't expect the reaction for that piece. I never thought of it as a holiday piece, but radio has been picking it up as a non-Christmassy but holiday winter piece. And so far, well, the album's not even out a month yet, but so far in the first 3 weeks, that is the clear runaway track.
I love that track.
It has like 30,000, streams just on Spotify, and my daughter plays glockenspiel on it.
I know, and that's beautiful, isn't it?
It's really sweet. And so we had to all quarantine together. It's just the three of us in our bubble. So the studio owners, the studio was closed. They quarantined. We drove up to New Hampshire, the 6 or 7 hours, didn't stop, ate in the car, all the things. And she had to come along with, we had to be all together. And as I said, she's a music major. She's a percussionist. And the studio owner said, "Are you sure you don't want to put like my nice bell set on this? Like we've got these, we have the vibes and we have the bells and we have the marimba." And I'm like, "Nope, I want the toy. I want the glockenspiel. I want this, like, I want it to sound like a toy."
And it does. And it's got that it's got the beautiful clarity of the sound.
Yes.
And it sounds it does sound like a child playing it. Almost, but it's obviously played very proficiently. It's not,
Well, she's very proficient. It was funny. She did everything in one take, but that was my idea, is that this should be fun and playful.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be that highbrow. And this is really interesting. You're very accepting and you're understanding all of this concept. My husband warned me. He said, "You're going to get some blowback on this. You have to." I said, "Well, it's my 20th record. If I don't have a thick skin by now, this is the best time to do this." So, and it's interesting because it feels like the pianists, part of them are going, "This is wonderful." And then, "Who do you think you are?" Like in the same breath. I had that experience both in China and Korea. I've toured both places and I gave master classes in both places in music schools. They were absolutely fascinated by the way Americans approach music and improvise music. And I had students who were, oh my goodness, so young and so technically proficient, but they had to read the music and they couldn't get the music off the page. And they wanted an understanding of how you interpret music, how to make it your own, how to give it an emotional backbone. And it was very hard to explain these concepts, and whether it's water falling or how we feel, because they are not trained to approach music from how you feel. There are notes on a page and you play them, and you are commended by how accurately you do so.
Right.
So in one breath, they wanted to know how I did what I did because they loved it. On the other hand, it was
they just didn't understand.
Unimaginable.
Yeah, right.
Unimaginable that you would play from a place of feeling.
Right. So do you start by learning the piece note for note perfectly? You don't.
No.
You don't even start there.
I mean, I know all of the pieces that are on the album. I mean, I've all played them in childhood, and I had a classical teacher, so I did at some point play everything note for note. When I look at music, and this is different for everyone, but because a lot of my people in the live stream ask me about this, they say, "How come you have an index card on the piano? Like, what is that index card?" And I say, "Well, that's the map of the song." So if someone requested, as time goes by, and I might write on it, E flat, F minor 7, B flat 7, I might write a couple of things and times 2, repeat it twice.
Right.
So I understand when I look at the page, I kind of see the map of the song. That's just how my brain works. I kind of not reading it along. I kind of see the whole picture, and then I play within the picture.
Right.
I play within the bar lines. I keep the bar lines, but I play within them. There's so much room in there.
Right.
So that's kind of my approach for this music.
And do you, because I haven't heard all of the tracks, so do you always stick to things like, I mean, are they always in the same key, for instance?
Oh, no. I did, yes.
Right.
That's because I have perfect pitch, and it makes me crazy.
Oh.
I hear someone play Over the Rainbow in F. I'm like, why would you do that? It was written in E flat. That sounds terrible. So that's just my own dysfunction. But yes, they are all in the original. They should be in the original keys. Yes.
Right. And do you play with the time, the metronome speed?
Okay, so Moonlight Sonata, I slowed it down.
I thought, yes.
I slowed it down a good 8 to 10 beats per minute. I mean, I just felt it was going too fast.
Right.
So yes, I slowed that down, and I think the Schumann might be a little speeded up. So yeah, I definitely play with time.
Right.
But I respect within the measure what the time
Right.
is.
Yeah. Because
that makes
actually,
sense.
yeah, and actually, probably when these pieces were composed, they wouldn't have specifically. I mean,
They didn't know. I
Yeah.
think people like just made some decision and at some point, and that just became the law. I
Yes.
don't really think they knew. The pianos were not the same. We had different feeling, different action on the pianos. Bach was primarily an organist. I don't really think it was the same.
No, I agree, and I think it feels to me like you were talking then about going back to the emotions. You're going back to perhaps the emotions that the composer originally wanted to um, convey,
Right. Yeah.
rather
I
than
definitely wanted to respect that. I don't think I did anything that we would say blasphemous, but it's fun. And I have to tell you, I'm really excited that the sheet music came out the same day as the recording, and now it's going to come out in vinyl in January. I have a lot of orders for the vinyl. The vinyl will be warmer. It's going to be beautiful. It's a double vinyl set in a beautiful, like smoky golden whiskey smoke color. But the sheet music has sold almost as much as the CD. I mean, people are buying the sheet music
wow.
and enjoying these arrangements because they haven't had them before. They've had simplified arrangements, in exercise books, right, that we get when we're really young.
Yes.
Play a tune,
Right.
but not exactly this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's brilliant, and it's great that it's so popular. And I think that doing something new in music is what music is all about. It's not about reproducing what somebody was doing 20 years ago or 100 years ago. That's not what music should be about for me.
Right.
So,
Well, it just seems like it's more accepting. We represent a band that was nominated for a Grammy this year, Black Violin. They take classical music and they put a hip hop vibe to it, and everyone loves it, and it bridges all the worlds, and that's perfectly fine. But see, it's not piano.
yeah.
It wasn't like touching a sonata, right?
Yeah.
They'll take a Brandenburg and go on it, with DJ hip hop beats. It sounds pretty cool, but for some reason, I've had this mostly silence, from the woman who did the proofreading for the piano book. I had them transcribed, and then she did the proofing. She was a piano teacher for over 40 years, so she must have taught this music to her students just, ad nauseum. I don't know what she thought. She was just like probably shocked, and then after the shock, why?
Yeah.
But I understand. I do understand. We're going to have some really traditional people who, will not be about it. But I think this is a nice way of bringing a lot of this music back. 10 years ago, in 2010, I did a recording called Sea to Shining Sea, a tapestry of American music. And it's all Americana music that when I was a little girl, we learned this in kindergarten, first grade. We all sang in groups. And when my daughter was in fourth grade, my husband and I volunteered. It was career days, and the different parents would go in and talk about what they did for work. And we talked about what we did for work. And I said there's a subset of music that every generation has their own music, but there is a subset in the United States of music that whether you're 9 years old or whether you're 99 years old, you know the song. And they didn't believe me. And I said, okay, well, I'm sure everyone here knows Mary Had a Little Lamb, or everyone here knows Itsy Bitsy Spider, or The Water is Wide, or Oh, Susanna, or I've Been Working on the Railroad. There's all these songs that I could play in a nursing home and I can play for you. And everyone knows the words. Bicycle Built for Two. And they're like, yeah, but then I named a few songs that are in the Americana songbook, songs that were my favorites, like My Grandfather's Clock. No one raised their hand. No one knew them. And I came home and I said to my husband and my daughter, I said, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Maybe I can reinvent those somehow and bring it to a new audience. And so that album came out in 2010. And she was a little girl. And she said, my grandfather's clock has a tick-tock on it. I'm going to play the tick-tock, Mom. You know, and she played the tick-tock on the marimba. She played bells on Bicycle Built for Two. It was really cute. It was piano, guitar, cello, some vocals, really sweet, some percussion. And I thought we'd tour that album for 6 months, and we ended up touring it for 4 years. Every spring, the trio went out, sometimes with my daughter as the fourth, because it became part of, like, the school systems wanted us to bring the show in to teach about Americana music.
Right.
And it was really fun, and no one seemed to object at all about the reinventions of those. I mean, I put that music, I really stretched it. They were all little things for ukulele and mandolin and guitar, and I put them on piano and cello, and, you know, I did different things with them. Flute, oboe, all different things. But that was not a problem at all. Everyone just ate that up. This one, as I said, it's only 3 weeks, and I'm getting really great reactions from my fans. At the same time, the classical magazines, like, they just went, no, we're not going to review that. That's not serious.
Right. That's interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. She's not serious, is what they said. Like,
yeah.
I said, you know what? I'm very serious. And I have been a serious classical musician for a lot of my life, but just because I'm doing this doesn't mean I'm not serious.
And it doesn't mean that that's not classical either.
No, but after I'm dead for a few hundred years, it'll be classical.
Yeah.
When Mozart created his music, he wasn't classical either. He was popular. He was popular music, and he was criticized for being too popular, too many notes.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that what Salieri said? Too many notes. And, you know, people who wrote the operas, right now that's considered very highbrow to spend all that money to go to the opera or the ballet, right?
Yeah.
Well, back then, no, it was the three-penny opera. It was for the common people. It was for everyone.
Yeah.
That was the popular music of the time. It was not considered highbrow at all.
No.
At all. Yeah. So it's very funny how we frame things. And I don't know if I'll be remembered or not, but as far as what I want to do is to create something that does live on a little past me, that people can continue to enjoy. And that is why I think, for me, it's particularly important to put out sheet music. Because then it is in writing.
Yeah.
There are so many things that were not written down. Only works of Clara Schumann. I mean, she was a brilliant composer. We just don't have the music. Don't have it.
It's crazy, isn't it? But that's that. You know, we could go on for hours about the fact that it was because she was a woman. You know, and she was regarded as just as you are, as not quite serious, just because she's a woman.
Well, she was the only one. I mean, she was, to me, an absolute heroine, because a hero, because two things. One, she was the first woman to perform in public while pregnant, while visibly pregnant. Two, she was the first woman to play the works, classical works, without sheet music in front of her. In her day, it was considered incredibly insulting for anyone to play piano without sheet music in front of them, because it was the piano player, the pianist, saying, I know the music as well as the composer. And that was considered insulting. She got away with it because it was her husband's music. And after she played that, then she gave concerts of Beethoven, of everyone's music. It became more accepted to play without sans music on the piano desk. Right. That was very admirable. And she had I don't know, what is it, 9 children, 6 children, 7 children. She supported them because her husband was not mentally well.
Yeah.
So, very interesting. But yeah, because she was a woman, and there was a play that I saw not that long ago. It was a one-woman play called The Other Mozart, and it's the story of Mozart's sister. They used to go on tour together and play duets, and apparently she was equally as good.
Wow.
And because a woman was never going to get a shot, they just kept pushing him forward.
Yeah. The world is crazy. Still, still is to some degree. Well, that was fascinating. All of that is fascinating. We could go on.
I know.
So talk to me about what you think 2021 will bring. What are you hoping for?
Well, I have hope, and then I have my little reality check. I kind of have more of an inside track here than a lot of other musicians, only because my husband, as I said, he's an entertainment agent.
Right.
So he's kind of in touch. He has his finger on the pulse of what's happening with Broadway when they're planning on reopening, and what's happening with venues. Here in the U.S., we're talking about reopening things, Broadway in June, but it's probably not going to happen at least till next Christmas. It's a long haul. And that's the reason for that, is that we have great news with vaccinations, but people can gather with their families and friends probably in smaller groups safely. But for people to feel safe sitting shoulder to shoulder in a theater with someone they do not know, where the whole point of the experience is to cheer and holler and bring people to their feet and enjoy this experience together as strangers, I think that's going to take a bit longer. So personally, I'm trying to plan for more content by working on new music, continuing to reimagine myself a bit. And I'm really hoping I can get back on the road for concerts, because that's what I'm really wired to do. That's what I'm built to do.
Yes.
At heart, I'm a storyteller, and I love the connection with an audience live. That's really what I live and breathe. So I'm really hoping for that.
Right.
That's my hope. The sooner, the better, but safety first. We just have to be safe.
Yes, that has to come first. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
I've enjoyed talking with you too. I appreciate you so much.
That's brilliant. Okay, well, thank you, and I look forward to hearing I'm going to listen to the rest of the album when I can finally get hold of it.
Sure, and send me an email if you have any, or to Max if you have any additional questions about it. I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Be well.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
So that was episode 24 of Harmonious World with the rather marvellous Robin Spielberg. And I've actually now listened to the whole album, and it's beautiful. The tracks I'd heard before were stunning, but the album as a whole is beautiful and actually just perfect for Christmas listening. So I hope you have a very, very Merry Christmas whenever it reaches you. If you've already had Christmas when you listen to this, then I just hope 2021 is better for all of us and we can soon get out and listen to some live music. Please do subscribe to Harmonious World wherever you get your podcasts, and I hope you'll join me for the next Harmonious World. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and it's a great delight to bring this series of discussions with musicians and composers and writers and all sorts of people to you. Obviously, there's no point in having a podcast if people aren't listening, and I'm very grateful to my listeners for doing so. Thanks also to Joe English for composing and performing this new theme tune. So wherever you get your podcast, you can leave a review. You can share this with your friends and family, either as a link or on social media and that sort of thing. I'd be really grateful for that. Don't forget that you can subscribe now. There's a link wherever you get your podcasts. So have a great week, and please remember why I started this, which is just to try and make the world a little more harmonious. Thanks for listening to Harmonious World.